I recently attended the Kent Major, where each game was played using the standard Strike Force format, so that's 2,000 points per army. I'll pop the round timings up on the screen just so you can see how the event was structured, including the missions and the overall schedule. Now, if you are totally new, just like I was, this might be your first event. It might even be the first time you're considering attending an event like this, and you might be thinking, I don't even know what happens. Help me, I'm drowning. Hi, I'm here to help you. So here is a quick breakdown. Wow, I said that fast, I'm so sorry. Players build a 2,000 point army using the latest rule and points updates. Games are played over multiple rounds across the weekend. Each round you're then paired up against with someone with a similar win-loss record. Games will follow official mission packs or the most current tournament data slate. There are usually rules around sort of like sportsmanship, painting, army list submission. The list goes on, but it's pretty cool to check out. But who is it even for, right? Is it for me? Yes, it is. I promise you it is. Competitive players are obviously going to be attending. They're going to want to test their skills. Casual players looking for more structured game environments. Hobbyists who just love showing off their armies. And I kid you not, I saw probably some of the coolest models I've seen, and I have recently been to events like UKGE, and some of them, in my opinion, top those. There are new players, again, like me, who are just kind of curious. Maybe you just want to go down and watch. Maybe you want to take part. Maybe you're a little intimidated. Please do not worry. I was new too. And I was honestly really surprised just by how friendly and welcoming everybody was. This event was hosted by Gothic Games Canterbury and Voidstorm Games. I've linked their details in the video description if you want to check them out. Find more events hosted by them, because these guys, they were so incredibly welcoming. And as someone who is still new to this side of the hobby, it made a huge difference for me. And I cannot rate them enough. So like a lot of Warhammer 40K players, all of my games in my short 32 years of existence have been casual ones. So if you are new here, I actually only got my army back in April, and I've been painting and playing sort of as I go along because they are secondhand from eBay, obviously. Where else would they be secondhand? Not a garage sale. Maybe who knows? I'm waffling. Right. At the minute, yes, I do have more grey plastic than actual tactical knowledge, but ultimately I just kind of want to play, not sit around painting and hoping my edge highlighting isn't wonky. The goal here is for me to play. And you know what? This event was brilliant. It gave me the itch to properly get my army sorted and just stop procrastinating, because Christ, yellow helmets are driving me insane. I had an absolute blast at the event, and I can honestly say, if you are thinking about going to your first tournament, just bloody do it. Even just to hang out and get a feel for it. It's a great way to learn loads about the game. I learned so much. I thought YouTube was a great source for me for knowledge, but no. This taught me more than I have ever taught myself, including how much I didn't know. I was able to meet like a bunch of like-minded people, play a ton of games. Seriously, it's kind of like binge watching something like The Mandalorian, but with dice and minis instead of Grogu. Now that I've had the chance to kind of reflect, I guess I wanted to share some top tips and straight up survival advice. Just from talking to various people across the weekend, I've kind of collated everything. I had a notebook, and I'm going to present it to you in a way that I guess can help beginners. So think of this as kind of like a first-timer's guide to not totally embarrassing yourself in public with plastic toy soldiers. I hope the tips and the stories that I'm sharing here are helpful to anyone that's curious about jumping into their first Warhammer 40K tournament. I need to be clear, this isn't a guide to becoming the next grand tournament champion or squeezing every drop of efficiency out of your army. I'm coming at this from a perspective of a very, very casual, very new player, someone who is like just fresh out of the womb new to playing. You know, the kind of person who gets excited when I remember all my rules before turn 3. Seriously though, I make videos for beginners by a beginner, so this isn't for you veterans, but as always, I do actively encourage you to please just give me your brains in the comments, because we appreciate it so much. I won't be diving into hyper-optimized list building advanced tactics or which faction currently breaks the meta. There are already plenty of super cool, super intelligent YouTubers and sweaty spreadsheets for that kind of thing, and it is not me. My goal here is simple. Help fellow players get the most out of the experience if you are new, a noob, okay? And this event is a great one to start with. It means meeting new people who are just as weirdly passionate about tiny space soldiers, playing a bunch of games back to back in a fun, friendly environment, learning loads, sometimes the hard way, and above all else, just having a laugh and enjoying the hobby. If you're also thinking of taking the plunge into your first event, I really hope this kind of makes it feel a little less intimidating. I feel like I've gone on like a weird Oscar speech now, but if you've already been through it and you have some wisdom or war stories, like I said, just please chuck them in the comments. It will, honestly, it will help someone later down the line that is maybe apprehensive about doing a tournament for the first time. So at this event, there were over 100 players, and I annoyed every single one of them. If I annoyed you, wave at me in the comments, because I interrupted their games. I interrupted them to film and then bug them with my noob questions so I could collate all of their answers specifically for this video. And to my surprise, they were all really chilled, really helpful people. They might still be talking about me now behind my back, but hey, to my face, they were great. The key things that I took away was kind of like the mindset is everything, right? Especially at your first tournament. I really liked this one. Somebody said a great piece of advice is don't expect to win, but do expect to learn. And I think that is like a key takeaway. Seriously, unless you're like your name is Gilliman and you're secretly a Primarch in disguise, you are not there at your first event to take that trophy home. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're not. You are there to learn, you are there to laugh, maybe lose gracefully to someone who bought something completely broken, and it is all part of the fun. Tell your imposter syndrome to take a hike. I struggled with this at first, massively. I walked into this room and I felt like, oh my God, everyone is going to hate me. But then I just quickly realised we're all just a bunch of people in this room. We all like the same stuff. I guarantee if I just started randomly singing Creed, someone was going to join in. You belong here. Even if your army list has a few creative choices, remind yourself you belong. Everyone is there to have fun, not judge your stat line memory. Well, most people, but the ones that do judge, they don't matter, and they were definitely not at this event. I really liked the whole vibe, the sportsmanship, you know, starting each game with like a smile, a handshake, maybe throw in a, this is my first tournament, please go easy on me, and they don't, but it's still fun. Most people are just going to nod knowingly because they have been there before. And it kind of sets the tone for a really good gaming environment, right? Talk it out. When you're moving your models or lining up a shot, just talk through it. I really liked the amount of games I was watching and witnessing where people were kind of like just, it helped me learn a lot by saying things like, I'm going to move this unit here so it can see your dreadnought. Is that line of sight? Okay, do you agree with this? Like, what's your opinion? The open dialogue was fantastic. I think it helps clear up misunderstandings, it helps keep things friendly, and it helps avoid arguments over millimeters and well, heartbreak. And also celebrating your opponent's big moments. I walked past a table, one guy was like applauding and cheering, and I was like, something big is happening. And it was literally because like their opponent had pulled off a really insane charge, and I was like, that's bloody cool. Like, cheer them on. If they've landed like a game-changing mortal wound bomb, don't sulk. Cheer. Just remember, cool moments are still bloody cool, no matter who pulls them off. Also, really sound piece of advice. Know your rules, but don't stress about it too much. So I really liked this one. Somebody was explaining it to me that before you dive into your tournament, it really helps to have a decent grip on the core rules. Now, he said that you don't need to be, I liked his reference, he said in an encyclopedia of Mechanicus, but you do want to avoid flipping through your rule book every time someone says lethal hits. So here's how to prep. Without frying your brain, this does not come from me, I have collated people's advice. So try to learn, somebody said, around 80 to 90% of the Warhammer 40K rules by heart. So you don't need to recite them, but knowing your weapon keywords, sustained hits, devastating wounds, lethal hits, etc., it's going to make your games smoother and probably a lot less stressful. Think of it like learning the controls before your boss fight. If you're like, particularly an Elden Ring player, right? You're going to thank yourself later. Read the rules commentary. Games Workshop, they actually put out a Warhammer 40K rules commentary. It's kind of like a fancy way of saying, here's the stuff people keep messing up. Read it. It's full of clarifications and like aha moments that make sense of weird edge cases and rule interactions. Read it at least once. You're going to feel 10% smarter. It's great. It's a great feeling. And then use the app. Loads of people are using the app. It's good. Download the Warhammer 40K app, especially for the reference section. It's kind of like having a digital Codex rulebook and a cheat sheet all in one. The favourites feature, I like it a lot. I've used it in my games. It lets you pin key rules, data sheets, stratagems, and your brain isn't fried. The command bunker is a handy way to have your whole army list and enhancements ready at your fingertips. It's just perfect if your memory is like mine, really bad. Keep your rules close. So whether it's the app, like I mentioned, whether you've printed it off or whether you've got like a hard copy rulebook or a lovingly like bookmarked tablet, bring your rules with you to the tournament and just keep referring to them often. Don't forget about them. Don't put baby in the corner like Patrick Stewart says, right? Was it Patrick Stewart? Dirty Dancing? Anyway, there's no shame in double checking something mid-game, and my mind is going to be thinking about, what is that song from Dirty Dancing? Now there's someone at the door. Back in a minute. I'm back. I've remembered the song. 'Cause I've had the time of my... Anyway, there is no shame in double checking something mid-game, and I owe it all to you. In fact, your opponent will probably appreciate it. It beats bluffing your way through a rule and accidentally deep striking a Baneblade, right? The bottom line is a little rules prep. It goes a long way. Study up, bring your cheat sheets, and don't be afraid to pause and look something up. You are not expected to be a walking codex, just someone who cares enough to play the game right. Know your faction, just like you know Creed's top 10 hits, right? If you're going to war, you need to know your troops. And by war, I mean pushing toy soldiers around a table and asking, wait, does that have devastating wounds? Here's how to get comfy, with your own army without frying your brain. Learn your army. Not every army. I like that someone said that. I wrote it down. You don't need to know what every Chaos Knight does unless you, well, enjoy pain. But you should know your faction's rules like the back of your hand. Focus on your army-wide rules like your detachment abilities, the data cards for all the units in your tournament list, your stratagems, your enhancements and synergies. Forget the stuff you're not bringing. I like this one too. If it's not on your list, it's not in your brain. Practice your list. Don't panic tweak it. Play your tournament list a few times before game day. It doesn't need to be perfect games, just enough to feel comfy with what your units do and when they do it best. A balanced list, aka, is kind of like bring what you like, but cover your bases. So for your first tournament, it's tempting to chase the meta, but unless you love spreadsheets more than painting, just skip the noise. Instead, build a list using units you already own and enjoy playing. That said, it does help to kind of cover a few basic battlefield jobs. So after speaking with multiple players, this is the sort of checklist I've managed to put together from their advice. Number one is your anti-infantry / your beasts, right? Bring something with a high volume of shots or weapons with the blast or anti-infantry keyword. Think horde clearers. Number two is your anti-tank or your monsters. You want a couple of guns that hit like a truck. You want high AP, high damage, maybe some anti-vehicle magic. These are like your big game hunters. Three is what somebody called objective monkeys. So your cheap, fast units with at least one ranged weapon, useful for scoring secondaries and flipping objects. You want to look for keywords, right? Like scout, infiltrators, lone operative. They're great here. Four is your damage dealers, units that kind of pack a punch, ranged or melee. Use the tools. Don't try to build your list with a pen and paper like it's 1999. Unless that's your vibe, then no judgment here, of course. But use, somebody mentioned New Recruit. It's great for list building, printing, and sharing. Now, the Warhammer 40K app is the one I'm most familiar with, especially the favorites, like I mentioned earlier, in the command bunker sections to just keep your rules really handy. But another question, which I don't know if it was a stupid question to ask, nobody made me feel like it was, but I did ask people, what are your top things that you would bring with you? Kind of like when you go camping for the first time. You don't have a clue what to pack. It's the same kind of vibe. What do you need to bring? Obvious one is your army, right? Double check it. Make sure it matches your list. Your painted models. Most events expect you to have at least 3 colors and a detailed base. Check the player pack, read all the terms and conditions. You then need something to bring them in. Don't just pop them in a Tesco bag. I have a Jacoki case. I did see a lot of them, but as long as your minis are comfy and they're tucked up all nice and snug and they're safe, consider your job done. So whatever works for you. Your dice. Bring loads. Bring a few extras for wounds, buffs, etc. Measuring tools like your tape measure, movement rulers, whatever you like using. Yeah. All of the rule stuff you need, your codex, your detachment rules, your core rules. Have the app, or like I said, print it off. Just to have access to it. Water, snacks, drinks, energy drinks, cans of Monster, stay hydrated. Bring something that's not messy. Nobody likes Cheeto fingers on their minis. And then quite a few people were saying a repair kit. Don't forget things like glue, blue tack, hobby knife, maybe even a touch-up paint or two if you're that intense. Stuff breaks. Whether you're a perfectionist or not is down to you. Some really useful advice, though, that I got from players across the weekend was know your terrain. The terrain at this event was all created by Voidstorm Games. It was incredible. It was compact. You could fold it all down. Honestly, please check them out. Fantastic. Really, really clever. Check if the terrain is player placed or preset. This can massively change how the game plays. Player placed terrain, it can be tricky, and people were saying that bad placement kind of gives your opponent easy advantages. That was something that came through a lot from when I was talking to people. Something else was like, make sure you read the player pack. There's usually a whole section within the player pack on how terrain works, and then brush up on terrain rules in your core rulebook, right? If you're not sure how to place stuff, just ask. Most people are going to be happy to help you. If they're not happy to help you, they're assholes. Deployment tips is another one that came through, particularly for first timers. Deployment can make or break a game. Bad deployment equals like hard mode from turn one, and nobody likes that, right? Tons of good deployment guides are out there. A really simple approach is kind of assume you're going second, hide your key units behind terrain. Infantry and beasts can walk through ruins. Slow units go near the center objectives. Fast units can hang on the flanks, deploy your heavy hitters last, and then put something in reserves. Deep strike can change the game if used well. That's kind of everything I've managed to gather from people's brains. One full weekend of Plastic Warfare, over 100 players, countless dice rolls, and a mild amount of imposter syndrome from me. And I survived to tell the tale. If you are still on the fence about going to your first tournament, let me be your friendly internet nudge or shove. Do it. You don't need a meta-breaking list. You don't need 15 practice games. You don't even need to know what all your key words do. Well, learn a few. What you do need is a sense of humour, some great snacks, and a willingness to get stuck in and learn. You are going to make mistakes. You're probably going to lose your games, but you are going to learn loads. Meet some great people. Maybe, just maybe, pull off that one glorious moment where your underdog unit wipes something terrifying off the board and you just feel like an absolute legend. Massive shout out though, please, to Gothic Games, Canterbury and Voidstorm Games for hosting such a welcoming and well-run event. They have loads more events on throughout the year and already planned events for next year. For someone brand new to the tournament scene, I can honestly say this was the perfect event. It was managed and organised and orchestrated so well. The attention to detail from terrain to the gifts they were giving out. They even had a golden ticket prize to bloody Atlanta. Just a fantastic event with some really, really cool people. Friendly TOs, great vibes, and an environment where beginners just genuinely felt completely at home. So if you do have any tips, please, for fellow first timers like myself, or even just a really hilarious like tournament horror story, drop them in the comments. As always, the comment sections in my videos are so helpful to new people to the hobby, and I appreciate you so much for every single comment you leave. I'm only going to employ you one time, so please do all those things you need to do to support my tiny channel, and I hope to see you in the next video. P.S. Somebody said to me, at what point does your channel stop becoming tiny? And I don't know, so let me know that too.